Welcome to Community Insight, the show about the family well-being movement. I'm your host, Valerie Frost. When people talk about family well-being, the conversation often centers around concrete supports and services: housing, food access, transportation, parenting programs, or financial assistance. But families need more than resources alone. They need connection, culture, healing, mentorship, creativity, and spaces where they feel safe enough to ask for help before a crisis happens. Today's guests, William Feggins and Camille Sledge, are the founders of School of Hip Hop in Phoenix, Arizona. Basically, they use hip hop culture to engage young people and families in ways traditional systems often miss. Along the way, families learn about business education, visual arts, mentorship, and of course, music and dance. Their work is now connected to Arizona's broader Family Resource Center movement through partnerships focused on prevention and community support. Their journey raises a bigger question. If family well-being is truly about helping families thrive, what kinds of spaces actually help families feel connected, supported, and seen? So I started by asking William and Camille why culture, creativity, and relationships matter for family well-being. All right, so William and Camille. So when most people hear the phrase family well-being, they think about concrete resources. They think about housing, food, transportation, and financial support. But your work suggests that families need something more than that too. So that's where I want to start. So why do culture, creativity, and relationships matter for family well-being?
Well, I think that connection matters. So those things are connectors for people. And so for us, we really think back to our ancestral roots, and we think back to African ancestry roots and the African traditional ways. And I always give people this example. When you're in a African or Black setting, right? African American setting, right? Like, say, a church. A lot of times, they don't give you sheet music and teach you how to sing the song. They'll sing the song with you over and over again until you learn the song. So it's a different kind of learning style and a different kind of connection. You hear it so much, you start to pick up the words, and then you're like, oh, I know this song. A lot of Black people today, not just us, can say they have songs that they know in the back of their minds, and they didn't realize that they had learned it because they had just been singing it or hearing it all their lives.
Can we say with that word connection? Because that's the word that I'm feeling it. Like I'm feeling the songs, I'm feeling the connection. What happens when families don't feel connected or seen?
What happens is that far too often than not, kids get removed from homes or, displaced, and things like that.
Families get investigated.
Yeah. Yeah. All type of things can happen to you when you don't feel connected, even within your own family, right? Like sometimes you feel a disconnect from the people you're supposed to be connected to the most. But then to be disconnected from your bigger community, whether it's a church group, school, you can feel isolated in a lot of places. It opens the door for a lot of problems, when that connection could have helped, alleviate a lot of those problems.
A lot of times kids will not say anything about what they're feeling and what problems they might be going through. And that can lead to trauma as well, right? It could be even worse if you don't have community, you don't have an outlet, and you don't have somewhere to place those feelings, right? And also sometimes just getting advice from someone who's been there before, or just feeling like someone's listening to you instead of feeling isolated or alone. Those things are so, so important. And we know that there's data and research behind it, but we've known this deep down all of our lives.
Yeah. We do a lot of like Zooms meetings now. And then just immediately when we got in the room with some of these people we were on Zoom with, we instantly got a better relationship with them because now we were connecting and present and physical, right?
Right.
Because on Zoom meetings, everything, it can be very professional. It can be very loose sometimes, but for the most part, it's in a professional setting. So when you get to see people outside of that setting and get to know them on a human level, I think that's where the connection happens. Like when you can really just, oh, I didn't know you did this. I didn't know you did. Yes, I'm more than just one
Mm-hmm.
thing, right? We're multifaceted people. So we do a lot of different things,
Yeah.
always art based, but different, right?
A lot of times work settings don't allow for that.
What I'm hearing from both of you is some of those like traditional structures, settings, they're doing things, but with that disconnect, you're more so going through the motions and not
Hmm.
getting deeper. So you talk about the things that you all are doing, and we just started having this conversation. So let's bring people up to speed on who they're listening to and what you do that bridges that connection. So for listeners
Okay.
that are hearing about School of Hip Hop for the first time, so what actually is it? What is your all's role?
So we are the founders and we run the School of Hip Hop. It's a nonprofit organization, a 501c3 here in Phoenix, Arizona. And we've been around for 12, almost 13 years now. We've been around since 2014
Yeah.
in the community here. And we primarily use hip hop elements to connect families and children and young people to help them to release trauma and to find a safe space for that.
And we use 5 elements of hip hop culture being DJ, MC, or spoken word, B-boy, B-girl, graffiti artist, and knowledge or overstanding. And instrumentation as well, because we're both musicians. Being from Philadelphia, the roots, live music is in our DNA, so we love the instruments as well.
Cool in the Gang,
Yeah,
Sister Sledge,
yeah. So we
Philadelphia Sound.
we
So
use
going back to what I was saying earlier, like why hip hop? Why hip hop and not housing, transportation?
well, hip hop is our culture. It's something that's been with us. It's inundated in our DNA. It's been with us since day one. It's always been something you can do like with little to no costs, right? It doesn't cost anything to be hip hop or to do it, you know what I mean? To be a person that's interested in hip hop because you literally doing more with less. That's what hip hop started from. It was started by a bunch of kids. It was not started by adults. So it's always been a youth movement, something that young people can gravitate towards because they feel seen, they feel heard, they have a voice, they have creativity, all of these things which we know, create that connection is the connection. It's the substance that does connect everything else in life, like work, family, the things that are not so fun or not so, prestigious within society. It really helps to connect those things. So it's really a glue, a system within a system. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
yeah, those elements we use to bring our youth in. And why hip hop is because it's a popular culture now. I mean, it's always been a thing to us because this is what we grew up in. Like this is what we learned from the eras before us: funk, soul, jazz, rock and roll, R&B, Negro spirituals. All of these forms of music are American music, and it was created here in this country. So we use it. It's been a part of us. Like I said, it's not anything we made up. It's just us being us and sharing it with the world. Like this
Yeah.
is what hip hop
It's what
culture
we
is.
know. It's what we know best.
I love how just asking you all about hip hop, you're coming alive just describing it because
Oh
there's
yeah,
so many meetings. You talk about the virtual
Yeah.
meetings, the Zoom, where people are going through their checklist, professionals, and people are not coming alive about their
Yeah.
checklist. You're not hearing the passion, the
they on
history,
auto.
the
They on
culture.
autopilot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
again, going through the motion. So it's alive what you're talking about.
Very much
Yeah.
so. Very much so.
So School Hill, so we know obviously nonprofit, hip hop, coming alive, connection. Can we make this more concrete? Like walk me through what happens when a family walks through the door.
So we have a process where a parent inquires about what we do because a lot of people think we just do dance. That's what most people think hip hop
They
is.
always call and like, hey, you guys
Dance.
have dance class? So you guys at dance school? My kid loves hip hop dance. Let's go.
Which is an element of hip hop, which is like, and I get it, and I love the enthusiasm and the benefits of dancing because it's very healthy and helpful. It helps to relieve stress. So when a student comes in, we first tell them what we do, which is offer all of these elements of hip hop and instrumentation. And then we evaluate that student based on their interests. So we have a kid that wants to be a rapper or a singer or something like that. So we put him in the MC element to help them work on those skills to become a better MC. So we evaluate them that in that sense, and then we also like to put them in group settings according to age.
We would have the students so closer in age and right, of course, because then the movement and the teacher can stay at that speed, right, and stay at that attention span level. Like older class, maybe they can do a little bit more complex choreography, so we'll divide it up like that. We've had younger kids actually learn how to make beats. And of course, the older kids classes, when they're making beats and they're learning how to use, like, say, a turntable or like any of these other, technology things that we offer, it's going to be a little bit more complex for a different age group.
To get back to your question, we like to include the whole family. Like mom and dad usually gets involved.
Yeah.
Because it's like our age group, we're not going to tell our age, but
want to tell the parents what it is that we do and allow them to
and most of them want to anyway because they love hip hop. They get their kids involved in it because of because they hip hop head, like they grew up in hip hop culture. So that's what a lot of what we get is like parents. They're excited. They always say, "I wish we had something like this when we was kids." That's the same. That's why we started it.
Like, yeah, my son don't know I used to be a rapper back in the day. I got albums.
Yeah.
And we're like, your son doesn't know that. Like, you need to rap battle your son after this because
dance battles.
He might have got it honest, in the family.
And you can see those connections of generations, like how some talents are naturally passed to kids because there's some talented parents and their kids are as equally as talented. Like they come to us already talented. Like we just, I like to emphasize more of the business and the financial gains, the intellectual property. That's what the knowledge element is about, is how do we monetize these skill sets? And how do we do what we love and make a living off that? If you so choose. It's a great hobby to have, don't get me wrong, because music is
still therapy. Yeah.
But now we can have therapy and get paid for it, right? Wouldn't that be something special? And control the narrative within the larger popular culture because that's something that's important to us.
Yeah.
And we want our stories to be told from our perspective because we are the creators of this art and this music. So we always want that to come across in that way. So our family, they get everything with us. They get the fun, because of course that's the principles.
The business.
They get the lessons, and then they get the participation, the connection, the family. Because we wanted to create like our own ecosystem that feeds us, but we pour back into the community, and the community pours back into the kids, and then the kids feed into us with everything we put out, the seeds we plant in the community, create those connections, and then it's just eventually just going to be feeding itself like everything else. It's not a complicated system, but it's very simple.
So when you all were talking, I was thinking family culture hub, but I love that you introduced ecosystem into here because it's way more than just programming, and it's way more than youth programming because you brought in this multi-generational aspect, which I was laughing because my daughter's in dance and I don't think she knows that I did ballet. And I'm like, what would she do if I just busted out? But then you just introduced this completely new layer, which let's talk about that a little bit more because let's help listeners understand this. So you started to bring up kind of like the tiered aspect that maybe when they're younger, it's just kind of intro to this, intro to that. But as they're getting older, you're thinking long term that this needs to be sustainable for you. This needs to actually be monetized for you. So let's start scaffolding in some business knowledge. So can you talk about that track a little more specifically?
Oh, yeah. He goes.
My pride. My pride and joy. You talking my language now.
Me too. So, if you can imagine, like a kid comes to us, their mom is bringing them in or something. Maybe they're like a 9-year-old. And at 9, right? You're not really sure what you like that much. Like you're kind of like, I'll try this, or I like dance, or I like this. And so we have them try a lot of different things. A lot of the kids will come back in a different year and say, oh, I don't want to dance anymore. Now I want to do instruments, or I want to play the guitar, I want to play bass, or what have you. So they end up trying things along the way. And then when a student really finds something that they really like, a lot of times you can see it, just like you said that we came alive talking about something, you'll see the kid literally come alive. This is what I tell the parents. I'm like, you might not have known this, but your kid is a natural drummer. This has happened. This is a true story. Kid's a natural drummer. We want to know if it's okay if we send this like drum pad kit home with your kid so he can practice. Because he just wants to practice. He wants to play the drums all the time. That's why he comes down here all the time. And I know you guys live in an apartment, so it might be loud to have a real drum kit, but it's not that loud if it's just pads. And he can even put his headphones on and play along on the pads. So is that okay? And a lot of times the parent will be okay with it if it's not like something that's too disruptive in the house, like a live drum kit. And it's also something that it doesn't cost them anything, right? Like now, less driving my kid back and forth. I could just bring him when there's programming, you know? We will rent the instruments out to the kid like a library book. And a lot of times we'll see kids come back and grow up in our programs. And I was going to say, really, lastly, one of our most popular programs is our Family Fun Night, where that's where you might get the chance to dance with your daughter, or you might get the opportunity to get on the ones and twos with your kid because you're sitting there like, oh, I used to do this, you know, let me try it, let me just check it out. And then these kids get the opportunity to surprisingly see their parents go into their element, and it brings a huge sense of connection because they're like, I'm probably interested in this because I'm probably interested in dance because of you. And I think that's a beautiful thing to watch.
I love you're starting to get into like the impact, but I do want to make sure that we close the loop on that investment piece because it's more than just staying with families and growing up with families. It's also investing in them with that business knowledge. So can we kind of go more into that piece? Like, how are you structuring that? What age do you start kind of introducing all that?
It's immediately. I mean, there is no age limit to learn, to get knowledge, right? The sooner you can plant these seeds of entrepreneurship in these kids, the better because they have an understanding of where money comes from, where it goes, how you spend it, what you spend it on, what are assets versus liabilities, what is investing in yourself look like. You become your own bank is my statement. I teach these kids. You borrow from when you need money, it's not a matter of if you're gonna need money, it's just when. So if you can become your own bank where you borrow money from yourself, then you don't pay interest rates. What is interest? You ask. What is a checkbook? What are all these things you need to know that are fundamentals within economics and any economic system? These kids have to know. And we want to teach them how to retain ownership of what they create, right? Because even on Roblox, these kids, they know these games they play. They got dances on there. Like you can trademark a dance.
Music on
You
there.
can own a dance, and these companies are making millions and trillions of dollars off stuff we're creating, and we don't see fractions of pennies of that. So we want to be able to control the narrative and our economic prosperity off stuff we create. Like that's only fair. I'm not asking for anything that somebody to give me. I'm just asking you to pay me fairly what I'm worth for my creativity, my art, my intellectual property, because that's what it is. We teach those kids what that means when you have intellectual property, licensing agreements, publishing splits, all of these things that are in the music business that are separate from creating, but they can't exist without it because somebody has to pay to come see you perform, right? Somebody has to pay for that painting you made. Somebody has to pay for the studio time. Somebody has to pay for everything that goes into
For the
what it
paints, for
means
the canvas.
to be an artist or just to create. But hip hop is good in that way to kind of bring it back to the affordability. It's like you really don't need a lot to start, especially being an MC because you are the thing, right? You just go spit rhymes, you know what I'm saying, over beats off YouTube for free. But
You are the business. You are the prize. You are the the gold,
like
right?
the instrument,
What's worth something is you.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking of, when we talk about lived experience and it's like your experience is the expertise, right? But in a
Mm-hmm.
lot of, direct service or advisory or all of that, people don't learn all of these additional aspects of valuing their expertise. And a
Yeah.
lot of systems are built around transactions, right? So
Hmm.
you have a referral, you have a service, you have a case plan, you have a survey that you're asked to do, you have a focus group that you attend. And what you're describing sounds so much more relational and community based. So, like, what
Oh,
changes when support starts with relationships instead of
yeah.
transactions? Do you have any, like, really specific stories of anyone
Yeah.
from that model?
We do. Absolutely. We got
So many.
one young man, he came to the school of hip hop. Never rhymed a day in his life, never did
He was
any of
nervous
this.
because he said he likes rap music, but he didn't rhyme, especially in front of his friends or
Yeah.
peers.
And he was like 15 at the time. This kid now has put out multiple albums. He has his own studio he owns,
He's just graduating from ASU
just
Pop
graduated.
Music School. He's an artist that performs around the
Yeah.
city all the
And he's
time,
dope.
and
He's
he's
really
really
dope.
dope. He performed after doing. He joined us during one of our summer camps,
Mhm.
and he we put him to side by side with this mentor who we call this mentor True Father, right?
Isn't it?
We always use the kids nicknames if they want to have like a stage name or a
Yeah.
street name, we'll let them use that name in the camp to make sure that everybody calls them by what they want to be identified as, right?
Hmm.
And so this kid at the time, he's just like, oh, my name is, he wasn't using his,
Mm.
I don't think I should say his
Not at
name.
all. No.
He was using his regular name. And now he goes by 602 Prophet. And he's amazing. He's a rapper. He's like a really good MC. And you
Yeah.
guys could check him out. Plug.
And he
Shameless
owns,
plug, hello.
owns,
He owns his stuff.
yes,
He gets
which
his
is
own
important.
royalties. Yeah. Yeah.
So let's connect this because we have people listening, and many of the listeners come from child welfare space. They're either, I mean, they might be frontline, they might be leaders in the space, middle management, all of that. And for listeners that are listening to this and going, oh, that sounds really nice. That's a great program. It sounds good. I'm glad that this person was successful. Can we make the case for how serious it actually is? Like, what impact do you see with the families, with their well-being, with their,
Mm.
you stay with them, right? You stay with them through graduation and beyond. So
Hmm.
there's a lot of people in these conversations that think prevention is evidence-based services, parenting classes, case management, or concrete support. So why should something rooted in culture, like what you're doing, rooted in culture, rooted in hip hop culture, and specifically, why should that be taken seriously as a prevention or family support effort?
It's a healing mechanism. To like foster community is a huge healing mechanism. And there is data research behind it. I mean, we could go into it, but there's a ton of research behind what hip hop actually does. And it's not just music, but we understand it in hip hop culture, in hip hop music. There are tons of healing mechanisms that reduce trauma, pain, and feelings of depression, even like growing the frontal lobe of your brain through freestyle rapping or something, right? Like, here's an example. But there are very effective methods that we can use to kind of get these young people to, even if they don't understand it at first, heal from any past traumas or any traumas that they might be feeling or going through at the time. And as kids grow up, starting at a very young age, we've seen that, like, right, if you come in as a 9-year-old, maybe you haven't, because you haven't even been in high school yet or something, you haven't felt these feelings of oh, I'm an outsider, or I don't have the same body as some of these other girls, or right. So these other feelings start to emerge. And if they already have a powerful outlet for those types of feelings and types of like traumas, basically, they can get through it a lot more easily. It's helpful to start by fostering community. It's really helpful to start by creating safe environments for releasing those kinds of feelings and emotions, and just feeling stable and safe in some place where you can, you know, get those feelings out, even just relay them to somebody, vent. Even if you don't ever share your art with someone, venting through writing it, or venting through playing it, or venting through a painting and drawing are so powerful. And there's tons of research behind that. But using hip hop makes it so that it's relatable to the kid before they even get there, because maybe they already listen to hip hop.
I'm going to translate this into systems language from what you said.
Okay.
Your answer was absolutely perfect, but for people who are in the work and they're used to matching to checklists and all that, you're talking about building resilience and instilling protective factors. And there's been a
Yes.
lot of conversations in this space over the last few years with prevention about going upstream and primary prevention. And what I've found doing the work is people that are in the work are so generally, they're so used to the crisis response that when you talk to them about really, really, really early prevention, they're still kind of waiting for like, what problem am I solving? What problem? What am I responding to? And it's like, no,
Exactly.
no, you're just
Right.
planting
It's prevent
seeds.
It's like
preventing
like
means you're not
it's the same thing
responding
in
to
business,
a
right?
problem that happened already.
What did I say earlier in business? It's not a matter of if, no, it's a matter of when you're going to need money, right? You
Right.
know it's coming because with society shows us we're going to have these problems.
You want to have that empowered identity first. And that is a method of prevention. Then you won't need to later deal with these feelings of worthlessness, or loneliness, or social skills not developing.
We had a family that early on, a woman came to us. You'll know who I'm talking about in a second.
Okay.
She had three sons, just came out of a very traumatic experience, but she was having a really hard time with her three sons, this woman raising three boys.
Well, she lost her husband,
Correct.
and she just brought the boys to us because they already liked hip hop. She just tried it.
So imagine what these three boys could have went through,
You're right.
like if they didn't have like some positive role models,
Other
and the
positive-
mother didn't have, she didn't know what family resource center was she going to go to that her kids was going to get sent to the school of hip hop. Did none. But she found us.
And of course, systems workers are looking at her family left and right, like,
Yeah,
oh, well, they
because
need
of that.
counseling, they need this. So it was like she was already struggling to make sure that they didn't fall into these feelings that she knew were associated with losing a close parent, a parent or a close family member. Depression. I mean, there's feeling isolated, powerless, all these different things, right? Even social exclusion, because you don't know who else might understand this kind of thing. This is rare. The boys are now really grown. They're like teenagers.
Boys.
They're big. I mean, literally last year we had we had a fundraiser event, and my band got on stage and performed, and a bunch of the youth got on stage with us and performed. And we got them when they were like, like 8, 9, right? 12, really young. And it was really, really cool to see them. They're still into playing instruments. They still know how to play. They still kind of are not afraid to get on stage. They're succeeding. All of them are graduates. All of them are getting, good grades. Going through and having someone else as a positive role model in your life is also research that shows really, really that it's effective going through difficult situations.
Yeah, I'm hearing you all describe with the Thriving Family, Safer Children, like centering the work in community. And again, going really, really upstream, because some of those systems, supports, and services really they're just too late, right? They come in maybe they're offering grief counseling after something
Yeah.
happens, but you're talking about being connected and people feeling seen and people being prepared and not alone before something happens. And I love, William, that you keep
Mhm.
stressing when something's going to happen, because it's entirely unrealistic to think that in 18 years of a child growing up that nothing under the
It's
sun
gonna
will ever
happen.
occur, and that it's just
Not
a
my
big
kid,
shocker, you
not my
know? Like,
baby.
I mean, anything, a
Right.
car accident, someone getting sick, someone, a parent getting laid off. I mean, 18
Mm-hmm.
years, you know, and it's like, it seems a lot of times that society is just like, oh no, what do we do now? And it's like, how many
Yeah.
people have been kids growing up that we don't anticipate that? And so, like, that's what I'm hearing is you're all
Yeah.
just like, we're here and we are with families before it happens because we know life happens. So,
You
talk to
guys are gonna
me.
make me
You
cry.
mentioned family support centers, and my understanding is that you're not actually like a traditional per se family support center, although you do function in that capacity. What was your all's connection to the family resource cohort with Thriving Families, Safer Children?
Well, we check all the boxes of what a family resource center is supposed to be, but we got involved through our own DCS investigation case, which led us to be a part of the core team and Thriving Family Safer Children. And then
Mm-hmm.
it made sense because everything we do is aligned, right? I'm just thankful, honestly, that people understand what we do and the importance of what we do is needed. But family resource centers, I mean, that's what we do. We provide resources, which is art, healing, all of those things, right? Monetization of your skill sets, getting paid a fair wage,
Mm-hmm.
mental aptitude, physical aptitude, all of those things you need to survive in society, right? That are resources that, to me, it makes sense to be proactive instead of reactive
Mm-hmm.
because that's hip hop culture is a struggle music. Like, so if nobody knows struggle, like some of the things that
Mm-hmm.
people been through in this country, but all of these forms of music are struggle music. So we know struggle, we understand it, we know how to use more with less, get things done. We don't need a lot to do what we need to do.
So we got involved with the FRC cohort. Got involved with the FRC cohort, and we ended up applying for a grant in that cohort. They were offering grants. We were like, let's try it. Let's see if we can get one. We got the grant, and we decided to make a film. But the part about the way that people are receiving information today was a really innovative idea. We think about the kids and families that we serve, right? So they look at TikTok, they're going to look at social media, they're going to probably watch for about 30 seconds at a time. And if we can have a film, like a short film, something that says something important, but they can visually see it, hear it, right? If we're able to make really like little short cuts of it and put it all over our social media, if we're able to take it, chop it down into small, short little things, young people will see it and also families will be able to see it. And then they have access and there's a way that they can watch the full video. And so everybody on the team liked the idea. We ended up doing the film about our experience with, the Child Protective Services. And we were like, the best way to do it, I think, is story sharing.
So it sounds
Yeah.
like through the cohort, you all made that film so that people can learn more about what you're doing, learn more about the concept. And my understanding is that's on YouTube.
Correct.
They want to
Yeah.
watch it. So
Yes.
we'll, yes.
We made it to highlight family resource centers. So that was the ultimate goal, is to let people
Mm-hmm.
know what family resource centers are, where you can find one within the state of Arizona,
Yeah.
and what they provide, what services they provide. Because a lot of people, like Camille said,
Don't even know what it is
and they feel ashamed and embarrassed to ask for help when all of
when
us
help
need
is
help.
needed,
That creates that connection of like,
Yeah.
I understand what you're going through because I've been there. It's empathy.
Right.
Create that connection again within community because, like I said, not if, when.
Right.
'Cause, when you go through something, you need to have skill sets that can get you through those things. And that's the foundation of what family resource centers offer, what they provide, and what they are within the community, at smaller levels and on a grander scheme.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I feel like in this conversation, you all have really painted a great picture of what you do, why it's more than traditional supports and services. I love that you really made it clear to people what primary prevention looks like, because I still think that's something that some people in this field are wrapping their head around. And just the impact of it. You did talk about specific stories, specific people, and all of that. So I think that we, the listeners, have heard everything they need to hear. We will link the video in the show notes. I do want to end a little different today and maybe have some fun. Yeah. So I know that you all mentioned maybe doing something live, a freestyle, beatboxing, whatever. Like, how you feeling? Are you up for it?
I'll grab my guitar. Hold on.
Okay, this is off the cuff. We don't really know what we're going to do yet.
Go for it. Let's just have fun.
Yay, yay, yay. La 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 la. La 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 la. We just want you to know School of Hip Hop is a family resource center for you to go. I'm gonna make this up off the top of my thumb so you can pull up the video. Go find your village and watch the whole thing, 'cause it's a real good one. Teaching everybody in the community who we are. Yeah. I don't know.
No, I love you all for that. That was amazing. All right, so run with it. All right, you all, so thank you so much. This conversation challenges us to think bigger about what family well-being actually means. Not just whether families have access to resources, but whether they have connection, belonging, creativity, mentorship, culture, and spaces where they feel fully human. So what you all brought today was not describing simply programming. It's a different way of thinking about support itself. And maybe one of the questions underneath this conversation is whether systems are willing to recognize that healing and prevention do not always happen through transactions or services, but through relationships, community, and the feeling that someone genuinely sees you. So thank you both so much for what you brought to this episode.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us.
That was my conversation with William and Camille of School of Hip Hop. What they describe is not simply programming. It's a different way of thinking about prevention, healing, and community support. Be sure to follow the podcast for new episodes. You can also rate and review the show on your favorite podcast platform and share it with others interested in the future of family well-being. We thank the Annie E. Casey Foundation for their continued support of the show. And thanks to our sponsor, Sunlight. Sunlight connects families and professionals in the child welfare system with innovative technology tools that improve trust, protection, communication, and transparency for better outcomes. Community Insight is produced in partnership with Imagination Factory and 14th Street Studios. Thanks to Matt Anderson, Tavon Lewis, Michael Osborne, and Morgan Honecker. The opinions and conclusions expressed in the podcast are those of the hosts and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Annie E. Casey Foundation.